teman-teman, ketemu lagi dengan Bro Bri live. Gua pakai bahasa Indonesia ya, tapi entar live-nya dalam bahasa Inggris ya, teman-teman ya. Karena, entar kita invite, Aditya Chintawar. Gua bener nggak ya, pronunciation-nya? CPTO dari KoinWorks. Dan, ini episode ke-62, rutin. Harusnya sih setiap Sabtu siang ya, cuman dari waktu ke waktu jadwalnya geser sedikit, either ke Sabtu malam atau Jumat malam gitu ya. Karena ya menyesuaikan ya sama schedule gitu. Jadi, mohon dimaklumi gitu. Seperti biasa ya, sepekan sekali kita akan ngadakan ini dan next week akan insyaallah balik ke jadwal semula. Nah, udah datang nih tamunya, dan gua akan switch ke bahasa Inggris gitu ya. Jadi, gua akan segera ya, lo yang lagi nonton, silahkan komen, kasih tahu siapa lo, nama lo gitu ya. Kalau misalnya lo kesulitan komen di LinkedIn dan nggak kebaca, ya normal sih LinkedIn kayak gitu ya. Jadi please switch to YouTube kalau misalnya ada kesulitan. But anyway, here comes, let's welcome Aditya Chintawar. Do I mention
Yes.
your name correctly, bro?
Yeah, I think you did a very good job. You actually pronounced it perfectly. Yeah.
By the way,
So,
again, thank you so much for spending your time, and yeah, sharing your experience here. Yeah, I
no,
really appreciate it.
thank you for having me here. I remember it just started as LinkedIn chats, comments,
Yeah,
and today we are here, and I think it's always good to share. Plus, you end up learning a lot, so life is good.
yeah. So, uh, having this kind of talks for me personally is kind of like a cheap way to connect with people and learn a lot of things from them, right?
Correct.
This is a great way to connect. And Aditya, so let's start first. People
Yeah.
usually there's two types of sessions usually. One type of session is where the audience usually really engage and comment a lot. That's one type of session usually that I'm having. The second type is usually when it's so inspiring, people ends up not commenting at all. And it happened. It
Yeah.
happened truly. So and then they're just being in awe for that. So it
Hmm.
happens before. But anyway, let's talk. And can you please introduce a bit about yourself, where you are, your position at the moment, and like starting out and up till now, what happens? So we can
Okay.
know, because our discussion is about career transitions, right?
Correct. No, glad. This topic is very dear to me right now because I'm literally going through it, right? So, right now, my new title is CPTO at CoinWorks, Chief Product and Technology Officer. To be really honest, I am not much. I even today my email signature just writes product and technology because I'm not much heavy into titles. I generally feel that they bring in more issues compared to, like, to be simple, right? I'm very happy if I'm recognized as an engineer more than CPTO, but that is my current role. Uh, I'm based out of Jakarta. It's been almost now 4.5 years.
Mm.
I just love the food and like everything is amazing. People are so warm. I think Indonesia has a lot of amazing things which are undiscovered to the world outside. The warmth, the culture. I think that is something which got me sticking here actually. Before
Have you
this,
been? Sorry. Have you been to other places other than Jakarta?
yes, so Jogja is my favorite actually.
Oh, that's
I've
nice.
visited Jogja many times.
Oh, really?
Uh, Bali, obviously, and
Yeah.
all that, but Lombok and other places. I think the
Oh, you've
next,
been around.
yeah, I've been around. The next one, which is on my list, is eastern side, like Sumba. I think that is something which is I'm planning. We did a couple of volcanoes. I think now Rinjani is the next one which I have to do. So yeah,
Oh,
so,
Rinjani is in Lombok, right?
Lombok. Yeah. It kind of takes 3 days, so I'm preparing for it. Let's see when I'm able to do that. Yeah.
Okay, I actually
So
live near Jogja, so whenever you are
really,
around, please let me know. So I'm around 50 to 100 kilometers from Jogja, in Solo,
Oh,
Surakarta actually.
oh, okay, okay, Surakarta. Okay, I've been to Surakarta as well, to
Oh, okay, that's
Solo.
nice.
Like from Jakarta to, because I've driven from Jakarta to Jogja like multiple times.
You drive?
Yeah, I drive like at least 3, 4 times I've driven. So it's like this: you get bored, you see the next city, and you stop there. That's it. And you eat food, you talk to people, you spend some time. That's how you discover stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
yeah, let's discuss later. But I'm wondering,
yeah,
with your schedule, how can you manage that, bro?
no. So it's yeah. I mean, this is a topic in itself, but I try to do that like once in a quarter, kind of a thing. It becomes a good refresher.
Yeah.
So that's good. But starting off, I mean, I
Sure.
graduated. I'm an engineer,
Mm,
and I think one thing I learned about myself is problem solving is something which definitely I like it a lot. So, but I was not very sure when I graduated about which is the direction which I want to take. But
okay.
so generally in life, I feel that we never know what we want, but we always know what we don't want. So this is a philosophy which I follow.
I'm
Even
gonna
if
take
you
note
go
of that.
to Yeah, even if you go to eat ice cream, you don't know what you want, but you surely know what you don't want. It's as simple as this. It's a very simple decision making framework. So I mean, the elimination method makes it very easier. So for me, it was like I was, because I knew I like problem solving.
Mm,
I chose consulting. I did that for around 3 years. That is when I learned everything, right? I did all the grunt work. You do Excel, you do presentations, you do storytelling, you do problem solving, customer visits. So I think this research driven approach, but the art of also communicating, that's when actually I enjoyed it a lot.
mm,
But something was not right, because in consulting, what typically happens is you do one engagement, you advise, and then you move on to your second engagement. The problem with that is you're never able to measure the outcome of your delivery or outcome of your contribution after like a year's time. So I knew that was my second epiphany, that hey, I don't like service industry, I like product industry. So this is how I discovered. Actually, now probably people are like, hey, I like consulting. People think of career as job. I like to think of career only as career, not as a job. Job is one part of it. I want to figure out what am I good at, what is my strength, what is my weakness. Then i I mean, I was up for promotion, and I declined it. And I said that, hey, I want to start up. Just imagine, right? I'm 24 years old. I want to start up. I raised capital, started building something with my co-founder. And it's a story in itself, but short summary, we raised a lot of capital, we built a lot of product, but the outcome was that the idea was ahead of its time. And because the idea was ahead of its time, we faced certain challenges, we had to shut it down. I returned the capital to the investors, and but that made really good network. And that pushed me to the second startup, which actually got acquired. So the founders had a decent exit. What I learned out of this was my introduction to the VC industry, and since then I have been like the do's and don'ts of the VC industry, blah blah blah. So doing my own startups for 2.5 years straight actually was a very big, massive burnout. And I was like, because what you do on a weekend is like you're working, right? Because it's your own
yes.
company. And so I generally tend to, even today, I mean, I feel like CoinWorks, yes, I mean, it's my company, and I want to deliver everything in my capacity to make this company big, right? That's my emotion. So then I took a job again after these two startups. That was my second job, and it was so difficult for me, because suddenly, like, you're the founder, you're telling people what to do, and then suddenly you're like, somebody's telling you, I want this by Friday. I'm like, I'm not going to do it, boss. Because I know if I send it to you on a Friday, it's going to sit in your inbox over the weekend. Monday, you're going to be busy in your typical work. So only time you're going to see my work is Tuesday. So then I will send it to you on Tuesday, right? So, but that doesn't work, right? Like, so it took me like a quarter to settle down, and like, but the founder, I mean, I could. The founder was really nice. He understood my emotion. He understood my what I can contribute to the company. So he gave me a dedicated project, which was very separate, and we had to build it from ground up. So I continued to enjoy my high ownership, high agency emotion, and then I could just deliver, build it on that. And after this is the part I think I did for around 3.5 years, and the last 1.5 year I spent only into the fintech aspect of this. And once I did that, that actually opened up my mind to fintech. How does money move? How does money exchange hands? How does the economy run? And how do you build a business around it? And that's how I came to Jakarta. Actually, CoinWorks happened, and that's how I came to Jakarta. So not many roles. There have been like 2 startups and 2 roles before this. Typically everything is about 3 to 4 years, and that has built my experience. But bulk of this all experience, I mean, the consulting gave me a very good platform of problem solving, which is a very core PM skill. The startups and everything actually that build my background further into product management. And I think there are 2 kinds of people nowadays. People graduate and they're like, hey, I'm a product manager. I think I have had a hard way about it. You learn, you make mistakes, you learn, you figure it out, you speak to your customer. Now if people tell me, hey, do this, I'm like, yeah, I know, right? But do you actually know the action part behind it? So typically, in summary of this, what I want to tell to summarize is problem solving, foundership, product management, and this is what I'm doing. But I don't know the audience, but I'll give you one tip. Yeah, after looking at everything, I generally break the career into 25 years. Okay.
Okay.
So 25 to 27 years is what I break a career into, not a job, but a career. So when you graduate, typically you're like 21, 22. The first 3 years, just focus on skill development. Just be good at one thing and amazingly well in that thing. The next 5 years, learn the art of managing people, responsibility, and everything. So by the time you're from 23 to 30, that person needs to be fully aligned, skilled at a particular task, and actually be able to manage people, big teams, basically a very responsible stakeholder. Now, most of the people here make a mistake because they don't. So imagine when you want to buy a car, you do so much research, right? But not many people do so much research when they are planning their career. They don't, like, it's like whichever
Exactly.
job comes next to me, I would give that interview, I would crack that interview, I would be worried about my salary, I would be worried about my title, and that's it. But have you planned the whole, like you chose 10 cars, out of 10 cars you selected 5, out of 5 you took 4 test drives, out of 4 test drives you probably selected one. But we don't think so much about career, and that's the basic problem. So until 30th, it doesn't matter what your title is, what your salary is. Money comes in later on, absolutely. But it's very important to be a skilled and responsible person, according to me. Whichever domain you're in, sales, marketing, engineering, technology, doesn't matter. This is 30 years. After 30 to 50, divide these 20 years into 5 opportunities of 4 years each. Okay. So to if you want to really make it big in your life, think of it like you have 5 big opportunities in your life. Okay, that's it. The first 7 years after graduation or your post graduation 5 years, you spend in becoming a better person, a better skilled person. That skill, whatever you develop, which helps you to launch you for those 5 opportunities. Let's say somebody joined a startup in the first opportunity. They made it big, they got a lot of ESOPs, good exit, you get in a lot of capitals. This someone did not make a lot of money initially at a salary point of view, but because they were prepared for a bigger opportunity, they focused on themselves, hard skills, soft skills, everything. Then time is just a function, like money is just a function of time. Maybe the second opportunity was like I did a startup and then it became like $500 million startup valuation, right? But are you prepared to be that founder right now? Have we invested enough time to be prepared for that? That's the biggest problem, actually. So that's how I look at it. 2 years plus 5 years, 30, 30 plus another 20 years, 5 opportunities of 4 years each. Now you pick your 5 opportunities. You have 5 chances to make it big in your life. If you lose this, I mean, it's okay. I mean, there are a lot of people, right, in the world. It's fine. But that's how I think about career, actually.
That is interesting. This is the first time I hear this kind of approach in career, actually, Aditya.
Yeah.
So 2 years you learn skill, and then what's the next 5?
So the first 2 to 3 years is skill, the hard
Yep.
skill, uh, and obviously the soft skill, hard skill. The next 5 years is about responsibility, ownership, managing team, revenue, driving function, any function. It can be a sales, marketing, revenue function. By 30, You should be ready. If tomorrow somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm giving you my company worth $100 million, can you manage? If you're ready for that, you are going to make amazing success in those 5 chances in life of 20 years or 4 years each. Else, you spend 3 years, you get bored, you get annoyed, and then you're like, something is wrong in this company, I will shift my company. You keep changing, but you don't have a plan. And one person actually needs to plan things. That's what we do in product management, right? We make a plan,
Yes.
we have a deadline, we do backward planning, we have goal setting, and then you deliver. Then why don't you do that for career? Like, I've seen so many successful PMs not planning their career but planning features, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, agree with you a lot on this because a lot of people consulted with me about their careers, and yeah, I found that is true actually. Almost no one consulted with me actually plan their career ahead. At least they know what they want like next, but
Hmm.
what's next after that? Why you want that? What you want in the like in the end of the tunnel? How you want to live your life? Nobody actually like just a bit of a small number of people actually
Yeah.
plan for that.
And it's okay not to know. It's completely fine if you don't know. That's what I said, right? It's not important to know everything, but it's important to know what you don't want, right? I think uh, in product management also, right? My day-to-day life, I always think of this. What is it that my customer wants? Am I aware of it? Is our research team working on it? Is somebody, my customer service team, working on it to know that? If, let's say, we don't know it, the worst thing would be to do something which you feel the customer doesn't like. Correct? So don't do it, right? So, or there is
Yeah,
sometimes we make a product decision about a particular button or a particular color, right? Now I know that on this position I don't know what is the best color, so it's fine, let the team take the call. But I know that in on this page you cannot put a red button. That is something which I know
yeah.
for a fact. So you can experiment on every other color apart from red. So I mean, this is a very simple example, but what I'm trying to say is, uh, no, we are not astrologers, so we don't have to go into astrology of predicting what's going to happen. But we at least know, in the circle of reference, this is something which I can do, this is something which I cannot do, right?
Yeah, confirmation button in red and rejection
Yeah.
button in green.
That would be such a disaster, right? Confirmation button in red. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's actually something that yoga here asks. So uh,
Okay.
know what you don't want instead of knowing what you want. It's not like that. It's like you don't know. You usually don't know what you want, right? But you usually know what you don't want. And this is the example you just gave now
Yeah.
is the example in product development, right?
Yep.
So this
Yeah.
question has been answered. Uh, but Aditya, so tell me more about your career transitions, right? At
Yeah.
first, you are joining management consulting or consulting, right?
Consulting. Yeah.
So consulting is very different. With your second is startup, or
Startup.
you run your own startups, right?
I run my own startup. Yeah.
So it's very different. In consulting, you have a set of problem you analyze and then you don't actually execute, right? But
Yeah.
in startup, it's like it's a mess. You have to plan, execute, and so on, right? You can
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in planning mode, right? So
Correct.
how do you deal with that kind of transition?
So I think I will break it into two parts, right? The first part is that you're very right in saying that there would be a lot of intellectual ideation and figuring out that, hey, what is the best way of doing a certain way, or what you can do. So there is a lot of research, then discovery, and then solution making. Personally speaking, I used to be very interested because when I used to talk to my clients, I used to go a little beyond that, right?
Oh,
Outside my role in life, I believe that if you want something extra, you have to give extra, right? Like
this is
nothing
a
is
good
going to
one.
come naturally to you assuming that thing. So I would be taking an extra step with my clients. Even after my engagement is over, I used to call them up. Hey, what did you do with this implementation? Did it work out? Did it not work out? Do you have any feedback? In fact, they used to like it because they used to be like, generally nobody calls us, and you're not required to call. The money is paid, everything is done. But the point is, the insights are in the success or the failure actually. And I
Ah,
am my problem was that as I was growing up, my teachers, everybody told me watch TED talks and everything, right? My problem with success stories is nobody talks about failures, and I want to know about failures. If everybody was amazingly successful, what are the reasons? Somebody has to fail, right? But our society generally doesn't like to talk about failures. So, and I am always open to failures. If somebody says, "Hey, you did this wrong," I'm like, "Okay, thank you. I probably would do a better job next time." Correct. And I'm also equally critical about something, because the only way you can make something better is by being critical. So I used to enjoy a lot of that, and I used to get a lot of execution insights from there first. Second, in my free time, I used to, I mean, I've always built something or the other. I also come from a business family. We have always been manufacturing something or the other. So I think it kind of runs into the blood. So you have a natural inclination towards understanding execution. I did 3 internships. All the 3 internships were into two. One was into law, and two were into manufacturing. So there I learned a lot about Toyota production system, TPS, Kanban, and that happened when I was like 18 years old. And they gave me big problems, and we had a timeline of 6 months to solve that problem. So how does a factory shop floor or everything work? So I'm not saying that a shop floor can be compared to a software development engineering team, but typically whenever you build something, what is your thought thinking, factors of safety, what you do with the wastage, what do you do if this feature does not work, can you reuse this code somewhere else? Like, this is how I think, right?
Yeah,
Like, if
yeah,
this does not work, I'm going to reuse this feature in this domain. So you are constantly trying to optimize whatever you build, etc. So it was a little, I would say, very natural to me when I started up. The interesting part came that I felt that everybody would have the same amount of passion or execution ability like me. That was one of the mistake I made. uh, because I was like, yeah, this is simple, right? Let's do this, like, and blah blah blah. And then you hire a team, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, it's not easy. Maybe, and that's when the biggest learning happened, actually. But I'm still in touch with my previous boss of consulting. I think he's still a mentor to me. I mean, he's one amazing person. Throughout my career journey, I found a lot of mentors in my life, and I've tried to stick with them, who have advised me, and especially, again, tell me what not to do. Don't tell me what to do, but please tell me what not to do. How I can learn from somebody else's mistake. Either you learn from mistakes, you learn from books, or you learn from people, right? There are only 3 ways you can learn after schooling. Because during school, you have a structured calendar. After your school ends, how do you learn? Like, you have to have a constant um, mechanism to learn from people, books, or mistakes. And I think that is, in a very short way, I kind of built myself up into an execution mode, and did my startup.
okay. I got many quotes from you tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. I don't usually get this many.
Okay, okay. Nice. Good to
Okay.
know that.
So, since you are already used and it's in your blood, so to say,
Yeah.
building something, creating something, and I kind of understand what you are saying, in the sense that when you are actually building something, or in the business of, you're in business, you constantly think on how to either make it better, or how
Yeah.
to save things, or save costs, or
Yes.
make it efficient, something like that.
Yeah.
And that mindset is uh, is kept within yourself, right?
Yes.
That's usually different from someone who had never built a business before, because
Yeah.
they never thought about that. And and
Yeah.
and I'm actually, this is a realization that I had just done, like in the last 3 years, that I realized a lot of product manager, actually in Indonesia, at least, I don't know in other places, a lot of them don't actually understand business a lot. So most of them come from engineering. They know how to move tickets, technicals, and so on, right? But talking about CAC, talking about the conversion rate, a lot of people got confused. So
Mm,
this kind of approach is interesting. So
correct.
if you are not, if you don't have parents that have business, or you are not
Mm,
used to running a business,
mm,
how do you suggest someone that is in
mm,
early in their careers, after acquiring their hard skills, how do you
mm.
suggest someone to acquire those kind of like leadership, mindset, organizing skills that you mentioned just now.
So I can suggest two things, right?
Yep.
But I'll also give an example of why understanding business is important, because I feel you touched upon a very important topic. The problem is, if let's say somebody understood business really well, and they evaluated a startup, right? 90% of the mistake people make is when they give an interview, they feel it's only the company's decision whether to hire them or not hire them.
Hmm.
My approach is different. It is as much as the company choice, but it is also my choice if I want
Yes.
to join your company or not. Correct?
Yeah.
And if I understood business really well, then I know whether this idea is going to be profitable or not. Right? The reason why I am so bullish on CoinWorks is because I can see profitability. Right? If I and that will only happen if I understand business. Right? I know everybody has ideas. There are so many smart founders. The problem of our society is we celebrate funding more than we celebrate profitability. And because of that happens, we get misguided that a particular idea is an amazing idea, and then we don't think about business, we don't think about feasibility, viability of that model, and so many startups get shut down then, and that's when the career mistake happens, because we again did not think through. And that's why understanding business is so important. And now, coming back to your original question of if somebody did not come from that background, what would be the two things? I would say what I did, which actually helped me, even if I was not in this background, I used to read a business newspaper,
Hmm.
even when I was, I think, somewhere around, I think, 10 or 12 years old.
Oh,
Every
wow.
day, I used to read a business newspaper. Yeah. I mean, like, I think you're like, I mean, how to put it, like a sixth standard or seventh standard person. And my father used to get me that newspaper. It used to take me so much time to understand what is stock market, how does money move, and
Uh,
etc. But imagine, right? You read a newspaper for 365 days, your mindset will open so much.
yes.
Geopolitics, how does the crude pricing change, how does the coal pricing change, energy pricing, then your mind, it becomes start thinking very horizontal, right? This was the first thing which I actually, I think, credit to them. The second thing which we had in our family was, we used to call it bomb. Okay, bomb means book of the month.
Oh.
So every person has to read one book 1 month, and the last Friday of the month, we all have to discuss about that book. Okay. So this actually, I used to pick all these. I have never read fiction actually. I have never read Harry Potter in my life. I don't understand.
I don't understand how people can read those
Yeah,
like
yeah. Those
big
those big
books.
books, right? I mean, I will watch a movie. It's okay, but
Yeah, yeah.
reading becomes very difficult, right?
It
So
saves time.
it takes time. I would rather use that time to read two small books, right, about something else. So I think uh, very early on, I got into that habit of reading. And I recently wrote a blog about this called as structured learning, unstructured learning, and there is something called as structured, unstructured learning. I mean, these
Oh,
are my words, because then I'm like, some certain people are used to a school environment. They'll put an online class, they will pay somebody some money. Like so many product managers these days learn by coaching, right?
yes.
And there are a lot of businesses going on. I'm okay with that. If money is to be made, it's okay. But I think if somebody has to really do it, you also have to practice it. Like go to your nearby area, figure out how many shops are there, what must be the average cost of one, let's say, nasi
Yes.
goreng, how many shops must be there, what must be the total demand, how big is your business in the area. You also have to practice those things in your local areas to build that character, right? Or
Yeah.
second thinking, or your natural habit, until it becomes your natural habit. So I think business newspaper is the number one thing which I read. Like that must be like 20 years, 15 years back. But now, if somebody asks me, I mean, there are some standard blogs which I read very to keep up to speed about whatever is happening into the latest sense of business. And I think once you did do something for like 3 months, 4 months, it becomes your habit, and you naturally start thinking differently. If you think differently, you'll not become smart, but you'll ask different questions. If
Yes.
you ask different questions, you'll get different answers from people, which will continuously move into a loop where I think you'll just become a very smart individual. But how many people have the patience to read a book or a newspaper, right? And that's the especially in today's generation, people want everything on a reel, learn everything on a reel. It doesn't work. At least it didn't work for me, right? So I can share what worked for me.
And I can relate what you mentioned just now, like Aditya. So especially I want to ask about how you deal with the first when you first read business paper, or when you first read a book that you are not really aware of, you don't know the topic, there's a feeling that you don't know anything, like when you first enter a team in a new domain. Like I was once dropped into a crypto team, core liquidity team, and they are talking about things and I can only understand 30% of it. It's
Mm.
a very uneasy feeling.
Yes.
And that's like, you read newspaper like that, it feels like that, right? You don't know anything, you don't know what they're talking about. How do you
Mm.
combat that so that you can build the actual habit of
Mm.
enjoying that actually?
So I think what I did was the books happened much later actually, because I think for somebody to pick up a book, you need to get inspired at least by the title, by the author, or by the book cover or something, right? So books actually took me some time to actually figure out what I want to read. It took me some time. Newspapers were the most easiest. Why? Because they had different sections: real
Ah,
estate, industry, export, import. So I used to like figure out like whatever first of all was the most good looking picture. I used to read that first, I'll be very honest, because I don't know what to read, because newspaper is also very big thing, right? So I
yeah,
used to pick up what is something new, and I used to discuss with my father or my mother or something else, right? Or eventually as you grow up, you have certain friends who you can like brainstorm with, etc. So you definitely need a sparring partner with whom you can brainstorm your ideas, that's without doubt. But most importantly, it's like you pick up a small topic, you actually, because the habit is important. I did not focus much on the knowledge. I just focused because I didn't want to like be the smartest guy in the room. I just wanted to build my ability to understand business and how does the money move. Correct. So even today, like if the war is between Russia and Ukraine, how Indonesia is impacted,
mm,
or if there is high inflation in United States, how is the repo rate or the lending rate of Indonesia connected? Then slowly you start able to connect a lot of dots, and then you're able to. Initially, yes, you're right, there was a lot of feeling of being lost. There were also moments of me not liking to do it because I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel of what is
yeah.
the benefit of doing it, right? I do not know what is the benefit, but slowly I think it just became a habit. And the second thing is, I think most of the people try to be very harsh on themselves when they're building a habit. Like they block their time, 6 to 7. I'm going to read a newspaper. I did not do it like this.
Mm,
Even today, I don't do it like this. Whenever I try to pick up a habit, I try to maintain that I do it for 21 days. But I'm not rigid about I have to do it in the morning, afternoon, or evening. Until I start becoming comfortable, until I start liking it, you would never discipline yourself. Now when if people start becoming very rigid at the start, that's the bigger problem, because then you'll never, your discipline, your rigidity will work against your habit forming, right? So yeah, something like that.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. So if you want to
Yeah.
build habit, you have to first try to enjoy the
Yes.
routine, right? Once
Routine.
you enjoy it, it will be far easier to build
Far
the
easier.
habit.
Yes, 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 yes.
There's a question from Audie here. So, hi Adit
Okay.
and Brian. May I ask your number one book recommendation for
Hmm.
someone who's in sixth or seventh year of career in product management, and why
Hmm.
you can recommend that? So, I'll just give this question to Adit.
Oh wow. Okay. No, so I mean, I will tell you this, right? So 6 to 7 years, according to me, I mean, I can, if I can understand more about the person, it's okay, but I'll give you a longest answer for this. First of all, I think 1 year also is okay. 6 to 7 years, okay, doesn't matter. What matters is you need to understand your current situation and what does that situation demand from you. For example, let's consider a situation that you have joined a startup, right? And you're 6 years of experience of product management, but you're at a leadership position. So your demand from your founders would not be about product management. They would be about end-to-end delivery, timeline based, business moving the metrics. So it would be more of a very accelerated version of what you want to do in your life. Let's say you join a company, or like something like me, right, where your situation is really bad and you want to turn around the situation. The metrics are in red, you're not making a profit, and a lot of stuff is not happening properly. And that time you'll be trying to figure out, oh, what is my current situation? So I think I can better suggest a book knowing your situation really better, whether it's a product management, whether it's a leadership issue or a growth issue or whatever. But if I just have to um, suggest one book right now, which is making which I am enjoying a lot, is actually two books. First is Start with the Why by Simon Sinek. It just gives you a lot of clarity because you start doing inside outside thinking. It becomes very important to focus on the problem, be problem obsessed rather than be solution obsessed. So I think Inside Out works really best with me. And the second book is by I think Watkins. It's called as The First 90 Days, and this is a book which I keep recommending to people. It's very important whenever you're transitioning to a new role, or whether you're moving to a new role, or even if you're thinking of changing your job, etc. Right? So I think so start with the why, and this is really better. Algorithms to Live By is one more book which you might like. It's not a fluff book; it's a very deep book, especially if you're a little interested about AI, etc. It's not related to AI. It was written way before, but the author really explains how the future would be, and what are the algorithms to live by. Right? I think so. This would be a very generic set of it. But let's say you're a growth product manager, you're a retention product manager. I would be rather suggesting Hooked by Nir Sayal, right? So, I mean, it depends. So, I'm not sure if I'm able to really help Audi here, but these are few books which you can give it a try.
Yeah, but I like your approach a lot. I mean, instead of directly recommending books to be read, right? Because it's not like you are in your first Audi is in the first or second year, like still learning the basics. It's in the sixth or seventh year. So instead of just recommending a book, you advise to see your situation, what you need to learn, and then learn about that, right?
Yes.
So, so
Yeah, you're
that's
better at that. Yeah, this is a
okay.
big problem. You know why? Because people don't appreciate what they are doing better. We always be harsh about what we are not doing. So we're like, okay, you do this better. Let's say product operations, you're running your sprints well, scrum well, no problem. Your product analytics sense is really good. You're able to look at data because data is dumb, whoever is looking at it. Data is as intelligent as the person looking at it, as dumb as the person looking at it. Data is not the problem, the person is the problem, right? So basically, okay, product analytics is good, no problem. Then you're saying my product thinking is poor, then we can suggest books related to product thinking. Then somebody says my my product solving or problem solving is what I want to focus on, then I'll give a lot of guesstimation and other things, right? So I think we can figure this out like that.
Okay, okay,
Oh,
okay.
thanks, Odi. Thank you. I'm glad I could help you. But if you just ping me on LinkedIn, probably I can send you some custom suggestions if you
That will be
want.
awesome. That will be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now, next I did. Let me confirm. So after you did your startup, it got acquired, right? And
Yeah.
you are going now to CoinWorks, or there's
No,
another company before,
there
right?
was the second job which I did before CoinWorks.
Yeah.
The challenge was, I mean, I had to pick a job because I think there was massive burnout. The funny thing was, on my first weekend after joining the job, I went to the office on the next Monday. I think I joined on like a Thursday or a Friday, I think, and I went to the office on Monday. I was sitting with my team, and during the lunch, everybody saying, "Hey, what did you do over the weekend? What did you do over the weekend?" And I was like, I was reading books because I don't know what to do, right? I was used to working, right? So it was so funny and embarrassing because I really did not do anything. And people were like, hey, I did this, I went to this hotel. And that day I realized, I mean, I'm going to invest all my free time. Like, you have fun in life, no problem. But if you want to be different, like you do that. So that, I think that job was really a good break for me. I consider job is so easy, right? Job is break. So uh, before this, then I came to CoinWorks.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Then, what makes you decide to you join CoinWorks first, then you move to Indonesia, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I
you
moved I moved to CoinWorks by moving to Indonesia. Actually, it happened at the same time.
okay, okay. So why? I mean, there's lots of potential and lots of big companies in India, right?
No,
So
it was very funny actually. I mean, not many people know this, but I had an international opportunity in Europe, and I had one Indian opportunity. It was into e-commerce. both were very big. Probably they paid me more. But the reason I chose Indonesia was I had come to Indonesia to visit the country before, and I think the simplicity of the people, the potential of this country, and imagine 50% of the people are not, I mean, financially, the financial literacy was very less. That as a problem challenged me a lot. So in life you always pick problems, right? You don't pick jobs. So what, you look at a problem, you look at a situation, and then you pick it up. So that is what actually was the emotional reason for me to move. And the founders were really amazing people. I think they are still one of the best, honest people, I think, overall, what I've seen. Very inspiring folks. So I mean, it was very, took me some time back and forth to figure it out, but once I made that call, I think I moved to Indonesia. But I think emotionally, the reason was only if I can financially improve somebody's life, uh, I think I'm happy. I can sleep better in the night, and that's what I need.
Okay, okay, that's awesome then.
Yeah.
So when you first joined, you joined as chief product officer.
No, I joined as a vice president of product.
Okay, you joined as VP of product when you're only handling products, right?
That time when I joined, I was handling product and design, and as VP. Then I spent 2 years as VP, and that's when I became CPO. And then after 2 years of CPO, now it's CPTO. Yeah.
What's the difference between being a VP and then going ahead as a chief product?
I think work-wise, things didn't change much actually. What changed was the level of ownership one has to take, or the responsibility one has to take, right? I think that is what actually changed a bit, and you still end up doing it, but so it's like this, right? Um, every job has something to do with the present, something to do with the future, and something to do with the past. I think this percentage keeps changing. Now
Ah, yeah.
I'm spending 50% of my time in the future, 20 to 30 in the present, and 10% in the past, just so that I don't forget my mistakes, right, as a company. So basically, you start focusing a lot on where do you want to be, how do you want to be, what is the vision, why do you want to do this, versus the execution only. While the present would have been that time would be like 40-50%, the future would be 20%. So I think these percentages keep changing, and the responsibility and the ownership, right? Like when things are not doing good, you feel responsible about it, and I think that's all about being a C level. Eventually, it's not fancy. It's a very lonely journey actually at the top. So it looks fancy, but yeah, you just put your head down, and that's why I always say, right? I still like to be called as an engineer. I don't take titles very seriously, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that, and I can relate because I've been an individual product manager from the start, and then climb my way up. And I feel
Hmm.
the starking difference between the more senior positions and the more junior ones is
Hmm.
that the more senior you are, you have to think more of the future and prepare more on something that you don't know but might happen in the future,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
that is increasingly you have to increasingly prepare for that. The more
Correct.
senior you are,
Correct.
how do you learn about that? Because I know that percentage of thinking is not like
Hmm.
fixed, right? Because
Yes.
once your team member is going, you have team members coming in and grow in their career and can assist and support you, and
Hmm.
you give your Lego to him or her, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep a good balance on when how many percentage of your time to think on the future, the current,
Mhm.
and the past?
So typically, what I do is like basically whatever have been the past, your learnings, through your own learnings or somebody else's learnings. I mean, I follow very simple concept of compartmentalization of thoughts. So you keep all the past learnings at one place. It's a very simple habit, but if you organize it, your mind, or as simple as bookmarks. Whenever I read something, you try to bookmark something into one place, right? So your past should be very organized and razor sharp. You should not live too much in the past, but that is just learnings, right? In your present, you need to figure it out as to who are the people. I always say, right, my team is amazing. They're the people running the show. If anything is amazing, the credit goes to them. If anything fails, that's my responsibility, right? uh, because I think that's when I can be a leader and support my team. But if anything is happening good, the credit is 100% theirs actually. So for me, then I customize my present role, right? Like, what is my role in the present tense? Do I look at the delivery? Do I look at the stand up? Do I look at the operations? Do I look at the overall timelines, or the quality of the delivery? So I think I tend to focus a lot on the quality. That's why it's a very difficult conversation if I'm having with someone that, why did this happen? Let's do a quick retro, blah blah blah. But I feel like retros are very important for me. Like, how can you ensure you don't do the same mistake twice is important, because if you make that mistake twice or thrice, it's no longer a mistake but a choice. So how to avoid that? And that becomes my role into the present tense. And in the future, you're able to basically, I think that future is also dependent on, you cannot think a lot about the future without knowing the capacity of your team. Your future tends to be aligned with the capacity of your team. Otherwise, if the disconnect is huge, there will be conflicts. That, hey, I want to build this, but why are you not building it? Why are you not able to build it? Because everybody works as per a certain capacity. So you need to do a self assessment, a team's assessment, company assessment, understand the parameters, and then you start forming a lot of ideation, and that's how you plan the future. Some part of it is also focused on the people part, because no matter what you do as a leader, there would be always someone who doesn't like you, uh, right? And the problem is, how do you still inspire them? They would not know that you're still thinking for them, because they would still see one email or something here, and they would make an opinion. But so a lot of that part also becomes on team building, uh, doing the gap analysis of your team currently, hiring the right set of people. And if you're hiring good people, then just get out of their way and let them do their job. Don't be still hanging around there. So I think, in summary, there would be a people track of my past, present, future. There would be an idea track. There would be a delivery track. So if I give you an overall answer, in either I can spend 10, 20, 30, or in certain cases in my future, let's say if I'm focusing on 1 month only on my team, I would give
Mm,
50% of that to just the team. Sometimes you're just focusing on the processes,
mm,
because if you're setting up the right processes and your company's or team is process driven, then Aditya does not matter. Actually, it's okay if I'm not there. Things will run. The problem happens when we become people driven, and that is when I don't like it. So that is how I probably break it up. I'm not sure if I could answer your question exactly, but day to day, that's how I break it up into solution or ideation versus people and everything.
then how do you deal with uh, what do you call it? Yeah? Management requests, something like that. So you know that there's problem, there's limitation on your team, there's
Hmm.
business objective you want to achieve, but then there's from time to time a lot of requests comes in. How do you deal with that?
I think, I mean, this question is a topic in itself to discuss for 1 hour. I feel like both are product managers, right? But I'll give you a short summary of it. The first thing I always want to build with my stakeholders is trust. I need to build a lot of trust with them for them to understand when I'm saying no. Sometimes I will give an explanation of why I'm saying no. Sometimes I don't have the time to give the explanation to saying no, but that trust is very important. That's the first part. Second part is, I we generally have a roadmap, right? You have a roadmap, you have the delivery percentage of that roadmap, and then you also have ad hoc requests. So we generally like to document all the ad hoc requests. And at the end of the quarter or a month, you try to show the team that, hey, we planned 20 items in the roadmap for the quarter, and there were 15 items which came as ad hocs. Do you think this is the right way to do business? Because this happens typically when the business is not clear of what they want. So product engineering and business, everybody is thinking in the same quarter. Ideally, business should be 2 quarters away, product should be 1 quarter away. Then engineering can do an amazing job in that quarter of delivery. Correct. So I think, I'm usually very firm when I say no. Uh, like, literally, no is a no. And if I'm very convinced about it as to why I say no, I give that reasons. You try to run a very data driven argument, and that is there, and eventually your stakeholders do understand that, okay, if Aditya is saying no, there must be a reason. But sometimes I'm also very flexible. Why? Because sometimes your stakeholder might be seeing something which you are not seeing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when the logic is right and you're not being emotional about something, then it's okay to say no. But sometimes you're just saying no because you don't know why, like logically, then I'm a little open minded. But under these situations, if something gets added to the roadmap, then I also remove something from the roadmap because
yeah.
we cannot do everything. So something gets added, something has to get removed. And what has to get removed, then people have to choose. If they're not able to make that choice, then nothing gets added. So basically, it's a mix of all these things, but trust is very important with your stakeholders actually.
Yeah, this is a problem that comes up a lot of time
Yeah,
where Aditya, are you there? Sorry, my
I'm there.
internet seems. Wait, okay. It is raining over here, so my
Okay,
internet
okay.
is
Sure.
uh, a bit
No
troubled.
worries.
But anyway, what you are saying is correct. I remember that maybe non-product, non-technical people usually keep demanding things, and
Yeah.
when okay, you want this, and it makes sense, let's do that, but you have to choose which one to abandon, and
Hmm.
we need everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You can add people, that's not usually solution.
yeah. No, I always tell them this, right? Whenever you hire someone, business people also, or it's not just business people, most of the people also make a mistake by saying that, okay, if you don't have capacity, if you just hire someone tomorrow, suddenly that person can start coding. It doesn't
No,
work like that.
no, no.
You know,
Yes,
from the time you think, 1 month goes in hiring, then the person joining, then onboarding, then the confidence building,
yeah.
then they do some projects. At least 1 quarter is required to successfully onboard any smart person. And then actual
Then in the
delivery
second
starts.
quarter they left.
Yeah. So, uh, and I always say this, right? Like it takes 9 months to give birth to a baby. Okay. It will
Yes.
take 9 months. You cannot have 9 women giving birth. Like, so it takes 9 months, it takes 9 months, period. Right. And you have to respect that as effort estimation eventually. You have to respect that. And that's about it. You can be better at that. But yeah.
Aditya, there's one question from Anissa Yaya.
Okay.
How do you know your career
Mm.
shifting is the best one? How to deal with uncertainty ahead? Because when you shift, you don't actually know what will happen in the future, right?
Yes.
How do you
Yes.
know and how do you prepare ahead?
Yeah. So I think I will break this question into two parts. First of all, like I generally follow this. I still do this as of every year. A lot of people have their performance review system, correct? And that is just done so that your boss can look at what you have done, right? I try to write all my achievements and my learnings every month in a Google Sheet, and that actually tells me what I have done in the last 1 quarter or 1 year or 1 6 months. So basically, if I know what I'm learning and I'm learning something new which I did not know, it is good. If I'm continuously doing something which I know and I'm not learning, I don't care what is your title, your career might not be shifting in the right direction, right? Because you need to learn and you need to have a structured plan of your learning so that you know. That's why I always say hire people who are smarter than me. If I hire people who are smarter than me, I get to learn from them, correct? You generally, people make a mistake by hiring people who are lower than them, but I generally like to hire people who are smarter than me because they have to challenge me enough, correct? So with that, that's the first part, right? Like do a internal self assessment very regularly to figure out where is your career going in the first place, from a learning point of view, not just from a title and salary point of view. Second, you need to understand how is the health of your company. It doesn't matter how good is your job, but how what is the status of the company equally matters a lot. Are they compliant? Are they going to be in a profitable direction? How is the ethics of the company? All of these parameters are very important to understand, because I feel like something somewhere this all is connected, right? You need to do good work at the right place, and then everything would be fine, right? So a lot of times when you hear stories about something shut down, this thing happened, that thing happened, it's not like it suddenly happened. Something must be happening wrong, but it's just that you got to know it later on, right? So it's very important to understand what's happening. People generally think of town halls as just information, blah blah blah. There are It is a chance for people to reach out to your leaders also after the town hall. Hey, can I talk to you? This is what I learned. Is this really happening? I'm not sure how much of this is possible, because it's a very personal choice to reach out to your leader, to ask them questions, etc. But I'm very used to asking questions to my leaders, and I'm always very open if somebody's asking me questions, because it feels then that person is interested. So to Anisa, this would be my second point. First is self-assessment. Second is to figuring out what's happening within your company. The third part is what's happening in your industry. So let's say you're in an e-commerce industry. Is there new regulation? What's happening? Who's the market leader? Blah 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 blah. Like all of this analysis you have to do. So you started with yourself. You went to company. You went to your industry, right? And you don't, it doesn't need a lot of time. Actually, don't think of it like a big exercise that it will take. Apart from self assessment, rest the other two parts are very simple. You just have to read a lot, connect to the right people, understand business, like a lot of these things become very natural, right? And then the last part, so this is the one which will decide whether you're able to grow in the company or not, right? This is the fourth part. What is your career ladder? Where are you in your career? Are you able to have an open conversation with your boss about your career ladder? Are they the supporter of you? See, there are two kinds of bosses. One who give feedback at the end of the year, correct? And the second people are the people who give regular feedback, right? I generally like people who give me regular feedback, because that means you care about me and you want me to improve. But most of the people don't like regular feedback because it is unhealthy conversation, it is a little harsh conversation. People just like, I don't know, you just like at the end of the year everything is smooth, everything should happen smoothly, but life is not smooth, right? So seek someone with
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
feedback, etc. So you know where are you in your career ladder. Can you expect a promotion? Can you expect an increment? What is going to happen? When it's going to happen? It's okay to talk about this, right? This is all 4 to 5 points within the same company. Now, your second question, how to deal with uncertainty ahead. These 5 to 6 points will prepare you to predict that uncertainty, right? What is happening to the US stock markets, what is happening to, let's say, there was a certain period of time where a lot of our friends lost a lot of jobs, and then somebody could predict, somebody could not predict as to why it happened to them. There's always a reason, right? We learn, or sometimes there is not. It's also okay. But your game plan should always be ready. If tomorrow there is an uncertain event, what are you going to do next? Always have a side hustle, right? You are always going to do something, or always focus on a little bit of brand building or etc., right? Of who you are, what you do. Like Brian here, right? Like he is known for his podcast, right? A lot of people can reach out to him. You're always active, etc., etc. So definitely within Indonesia, a person who has a goal to help people. So next time I really need something, I want to hire someone, probably I'll just call Brian, right? Hey, do you know someone? I need a person for this one. Maybe he's connected, right? So that's how it like there are a lot of these things people happen. So uh, you cannot like start digging a well when you're thirsty. You have to start digging a well when you're not thirsty, because that's when you can dig the well. This is a very old concept our parents used to tell, our grandparents used to tell. But the best way to prepare for uncertainty is prepare every day, literally, right? There is nothing which goes waste. You read a book, you read a blog, you implement something, you help a friend, you make a connection, you apply to some position, some side hustle. Nothing goes waste, right? So I think, I'm not sure if this really helps you, but these 4 to 5 points, you do them together, I don't think you'll ever face that situation, right? You'll never face this situation for hiring PM. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Someone did ask me for that.
yeah, yeah. So I hope this helps you, Anisa.
Yeah, and Aditya, I do think some of the things that you mentioned earlier, like trying to find out what happens within a company, the opportunity in the industry, what's happening, and so on. It's kind of like a street smart skills that you will naturally acquire when you run a business or you prepare to run a business, but it's not something that commonly found in your regular employee if they don't learn, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of how to do that.
No, I
It comes
think
naturally to me, right? You just read at when's their last funding round, their number of head count, and you can like guesstimate how long they would last, something like that, right? But
okay.
not many people understand that.
No, I
That's
mean,
one
I
thing.
correct, very true. I think the first thing everybody has to do is stop thinking about the job, thinking about a career, right? Job is not day to day, career is what you plan. That is something
Yeah,
which you have to repeat every. I think just write it on a paper, stick it on your wall, and keep looking at it. A lot of questions will arise. Actually, a lot of questions will arise because you have to do a lot of introspection here first. Second, but I know this is difficult and not many people will do it, so I'll give you the other one. So I think I enjoy using Google Alerts a lot. You
oh,
configure Google Alerts to specific industry, specific companies. Whenever something is happening to that company or industry, you get a Google alert. You read about it, what's happening, then you figure it out. Okay, 50 people company, $2 million raise. The overall competition is raising $10 million. So it's definitely not going to be a profit game. It's going to be a high volume, low margin business. Who takes it all? That means 1 year will be spent in building features which will just create the competitiveness, might not make you money. If the second round of funding doesn't happen, it's tough, right? Like simple.
yeah.
Is it a D2C business, consumer business, or a B2B2C business? So everybody has to figure out this thing, right? Product versus service. I mean, I know, Brian, you say it very correctly that it doesn't come naturally, but I'm saying if anybody has done job 2 years in their life, or anything they have done for 2 years in their way, they have to figure it out to be responsible toward. Nobody's responsible for your career, by the way. Only you are. So if anybody has spent 2 years in their career, I cannot accept them saying, "Oh, I did not think of this, I did not think of that." That's the thing you're responsible about, right? I'm sorry if I'm being a little direct here, but that's the only way you feel responsible, or you think about your career actually, right? So this is how I would think about it actually. But Google Alerts is one very simple way. Tech in Asia, a lot of other things. Again, don't read news, read information. If you read news when shit happens, you will react differently. When you read news when as information, you'll react differently. And I think we have to focus a lot on information than news.
Okay. That's another an interesting quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this is the last question, and I'll make it the question from Audi, right? Because it's
Okay.
an interesting question.
Huh.
What would be your two most why two? But anyway, one or two lah. One or two
Yeah.
your most expensive mistake that you learn from your own experience throughout your
Mhm.
career.
Um, I think the most biggest expensive mistake I made was my first startup. We built an amazing product, but the product was ahead of its time, and
Mm.
definitely it failed because of that. And definitely I spent a year or more. There was a lot of capital involved, did hiring of people and etc. and etc. and etc. Right. So I think till date that has been my biggest failure in my life. Until that, like whatever I've tried to focus on, I've achieved, but even today that thing has helped me the most. Even when in my current startup CoinWorks, I mean current company CoinWorks, whenever somebody gives me a budget, let's say it's a marketing budget or product budget or a research budget, I'm always like, okay, think and spend wisely. What is the outcome of this research going to be? Because there has been times where I have been making those decisions. You spend a lot of money, you built an amazing product, but doesn't matter if only you find your product amazing, right? The other people, the customer is also ready, but is the environment ready for it? In my case, it was the problem of the environment was not ready for the transparency we were bringing in the sports industry actually. So what matters is, that was I think my most expensive, because money is okay, you'll always earn money. It's time is what I'm always worried about, and I think I invested a lot of time in doing that. Maybe I did not make a lot of money out of it, but the learning has been amazing, so it's not a regret. It's probably but the most expensive mistake I ever made. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned after schooling, right? You can only learn from either your mistakes, books, and other people, right?
Yes.
But when I hear that, I feel that yes, you can learn from books and other people, but the most learning that you can get is always from your own mistakes because you understand the whole context of it,
Yes.
why it's happening, the situation, the people, you experience it, the emotion, everything is happening at once.
Correct.
So yeah, but try to not do a lot of that.
You cannot repeat it. Basically, the mantra
Yeah,
is keep making new mistakes. Don't repeat it. The moment you repeat it, something is surely wrong.
yeah. Okay, Adit. It's been nice talking with you tonight, and I definitely learned a lot. Definitely got a lot of quotes that I will be posting
Yeah.
for
Thank you.
several
Thank you.
days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thank you again. I hope I think a lot of people enjoy this chat. This is actually more than the previous one with English speaker
Wow. Okay.
because yeah, has been a very fruitful and insightful session
Thank
for
you.
me personally, and I think other
Yeah.
people is find it insightful
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me over, and all
I
the
hope
best to
you
you.
don't mind if I invite you to chat again in the future
Oh
sometime.
yeah, absolutely fine. We can pick some time and we can chat about something. Absolutely okay. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you
Okay. Thank
again.
you so
Thank you
much.
everyone. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.